This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by IndyWrestling.us. Check out IWC, RWA, and more. And listeners like you, support this show at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show.
Hungry as fuck, but I ain't starving yet. Chain for the pain, cocktail dog set. Never said I was a gangster or thug, but I'm an animal. For the taste of the fly.
Hey guys, it is the Indy Mayhem Show. I'm Mike Sorga at Sorgatron on the Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Beachview neighborhood of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, ready to talk some indie wrestling, and we got another special one for you here this week. First of all, please go check out everything at WrestlingMayhemShow.com and IndyWrestling.us. You can find past episodes of this show on Wrestling Mayhem Show. You can check out all the wrestling podcasts. On IndyWrestling.us, you can often find our guests in action over there, whether on VOD or on the Indie Wrestling Network as well. And if you want to drop us a line, if you know anybody coming up or want to suggest somebody for on the show, hit us up at goodtimes@WrestlingMayhemShow.com or 412-206-WMS0. And if you dig what we're doing, if you bring some value, if you want to see this thing grow, please help us out over at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show. So this is part 2 of the new class this week. We talked previously with the professor and the Mandime. See, I'm still learning the rest of their names, but at least I know that. No, Elijah Dean, the Mandime, and the Professor Ryan Dye. Yes. And then now we have a new duo for me to learn their names. I know him as the Daredevil and, well, Judo, which actually isn't his moniker, but still, it seems to be what everybody is calling you. But we do have with us, first of all, the Judo one. He is the Ronin, Stevie Lebell, with us tonight.
What's happening, Facebook?
I love, and by the way, if you're on the audio, he's got the tie, he's got a vest, plus he's got his sweet martial arts vest. I don't know if there's a term for that.
It's a cut-off gi.
A cut-off gi. And he got the patches and everything like that. That's awesome. It's a good look for you.
I do.
This is how he rolls into the important events. So, and also with us is the Daredevil, Johnny Patch, with us tonight.
What's up, guys?
I
am also dressed well.
Yes, he's dressed well. He's got a good tank top on, representing. What's on your tank top down there?
Lucio. Overwatch. If anyone needs a healer on PS4, just let me know.
We might have to tag you in here this weekend for the marathon we're doing for Extra Life, because I know there's going to be some Overwatch going down. I have yet to play Overwatch.
It's fun. It's aggravating.
I just haven't had a chance to. If Fortnite wasn't on the phone, Well, anyways. We got some new guys here, and you guys got to get to know him here over the course of this episode. And first, we like to kind of touch base and kind of ask them, what was your earliest memory of professional wrestling? And this is usually the part with the new guys where I feel really old. Who wants to go first?
I got it. The earliest memory I have of wrestling, I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old. I remember my parents took me to see my great-grandmother. She was in the hospital or whatnot, and she really wasn't allowed to watch anything too crazy to mess with her heart rate. And I remember my dad would slip on, I don't know if it was Nitro or if it was Raw back in, but she had a hatred for Roddy Piper. Like, absolutely hated him. Like, the second my dad would put the channel on, there's Roddy. He's like grabbing a chair or something, breath's knocked out, like he's getting ready to like hit somebody over the head. And I remember her just losing it. Her heart monitor's going off.
Oh no.
Nurses come running in. They're like, we told you can't watch this anymore. And then they ended up turning the channel. And I don't even know anything about that day, or that's the only thing I can remember. And that's like the first time I actually remember wrestling before I really started to get into it, before I really started to fall in love with it.
Mm-hmm. It was first you saw kind of what it could do,
like
very
capture
detailed something. What it can do to a monitor, to everything. Like what happens to a person when they're into this thing, right?
Yeah,
that's awesome. So what did you further get into it with? Like what kind of got you to kind of stay on with it?
What really had my attention was the Hardy Boys.
Mm-hmm.
They're I would say they're a couple of Daredevils as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really appealed to me, like them putting their bodies on the line and just like being able to do all these things and captivating a crowd unlike anyone has done before up until that time. And what really like set it in stone for me that I wanted to do this sometime in my life, it was I think I was like 8 or 9. It was Jeff Hardy versus Undertaker. It was a ladder match.
Oh, it was like on a SmackDown or something,
yeah,
wasn't it?
I think it was on Raw.
Okay.
And like, I remember it was a school night. I'm up past like my bedtime. My dad's like sleeping, trying to get ready for midnight shift. I'm hooting and hollering, and then JR does like the call, climb the ladder, kid, make yourself. I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. But I remember just like doing. I'm like, like I want this. Like I want to give back this feeling that I have right now. And ever since that day, like I've just devoted my like entire life to wrestling, just learning everything about it, the entertainment, the art, and then. But yeah, it all started with the Hardy Boys.
And that's basically what made you think I want to get in and do this stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
That's awesome. What about you, Stevie? What's your story?
Funny enough, also the Hardy Boys.
Good choice.
I couldn't tell by your first matches.
What are you gonna do? I think it was TLC 2. I remember Jeff had just almost killed himself putting Devon through a stack of tables. And Edge and Christian were in the ring. They had the ladder set up and there was a table across, and I was like, what's going to go on with that? Like, what are we doing with that? And then nothing ever came of it, and I was like, that's weird they didn't do anything with this, but I am not dissatisfied. Because I just saw Jeff Hardy attempt to kill himself.
Yes.
And I was convinced that the man could fly at that point. So that kind of got me hooked.
It got you hooked, and that you kind of stayed with it since then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So we already answered this with Johnny, but like, so what got you kind of decide I want to do this thing, or was it just right off of that?
It was actually just right off of that, because I remember because he went through all the tables and then they panned across the crowd and everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing in the world," and I was like, "Oh my God, they're right. I want to do that to people. I want people to be all about this like that. I want to elicit that kind of reaction.
I want to do that to myself."
That's something in my body should go through, right? Awesome. So, like, from that, of course, you guys went through IWC's training school here. I believe you trained under Chris LaRusso and Andrew Palace, right?
Yes.
So how did you kind of discover, like, those next steps? I want to do this. How did you figure out where to do it?
Well, for me, this is actually not the first time we had looked into wrestling school. This was actually thought of as a college alternative for a little bit because I was so adamant about this is what I'm going to do.
Oh, please, somebody smarted you up, right?
Yeah, I'm in college too, but my parents have been very supportive, like all the way. And I was home for a weekend from St. Francis University the one weekend, and I was like, you know what? I've met some people. I've made some connections that made this seem a lot more attainable. And I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. So I started looking into schools and went to a couple shows and saw some broken rings and decided, I think I'm going to go with this one.
Wait. So the broken, we're talking about IWC at this point, right?
I'm talking about companies in the area.
Oh, that had broken rings. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was thinking some incidents that happened with IWC.
No,
okay,
I scouted out a couple schools in the area. Went to a couple shows from the people that had that school, saw some broken rings, went, I'm going to go with this one. I think this is probably my best option.
That's awesome. So ring quality was your...
It was a deciding factor, yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So from there, of course, you guys definitely did, trade with IWC and those guys. What did you have any expectations going into it? Were you kind of an open book, or did you, I know it's kind of, you can find out a whole lot these days and interviews and stuff, of course. What was the reaction for you when you finally got in there and got through your paces for it?
Well, my initial thought was, holy crap, I'm going to die. I am not in the shape for this. But, I mean, it was... I almost teared up a little bit the first time I stepped between the ropes. I was like, oh my God, it's happening!
That's amazing. That's awesome. Johnny, how did you kind of transition to the finding the school and everything?
All right, so I was never like big into indie wrestling, and
you're just like, how do I get to WWE?
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I just want to get into wrestling. So I was asking around some people at work. I was talking to them about wrestling. They're like, "Hey, I go to these shows in the area. Why don't you message this guy? Here's his email and see if they have a school or something." So I messaged him, and it wasn't IWC. I didn't know IWC existed. I mean, I've seen videos, and
it is weird because there's so many people I run into, and this is something that we're trying to correct this year. Is one of the missions that we're trying to do with the sites and everything. Like, people don't know wrestling is here, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of it's in its own cone, right? And it's hard to discover that, right?
Yeah, I sent this guy an email, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys have a school, or can you refer me to like a school, like one of the better schools in the area?" He's like, "No, we don't have a school anymore, but here is Justin Plummer's email. Give him an email." And I sent him a message. I wasn't able to do the first round of tryouts. I was stuck on steady afternoon shift. I had to wait for a bid to come up, do steady midnight shift so I can make this happen. So I waited until this class, and I got my tryout, and I was pretty pumped about that.
Awesome. What was your reaction when you finally got in there and got to do some stuff and go through the drills and so, you know, it's not all jumping off of things?
Yeah. My initial reaction was like, this is real. This can happen now. I remember like never being so, I don't want to say like I was nervous. I was like anxious driving there. Like I think I left like an extra hour and a half early just in case I didn't know where to go. I was just like so stoked to have this opportunity, and it was definitely a lot more physical than I thought going into it. I think the first time I took a bump, it really like knocked the wind out of me. I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, okay,
it's not a trampoline. It's not a trampoline.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, now I just have to do this off the top rope and add a flip to it. Let's do this.
So tell me a little bit about kind of the development here. You know, you're the Daredevil. You're the Ronin. And, you know, how did you guys come across like this kind of persona? Is this an extension kind of thing, or you know, did you go through any iterations when getting to this point?
I would say it's basically who I always wanted to be. I've always had this like insane mentality of like, I wonder if I can jump off of this, or if I wonder if I can add a flip to it.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm doing stuff and trying stuff out, I'm not sure if I can actually do it. But I mean, I still got to try it. I still got to like send it. So like a lot of the flips and stuff I learned jumping off of like cliffs and bridges and barges, anything into the river, like over rotating.
So a ring is easy.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I don't know. I've just always had this like Daredevil mentality, like trying to push myself just a little further and a little higher, trying to add a little bit more to everything, just never being satisfied with the like, okay, I can do that. I'm good with this. I'll chill here. It's like, what can I add to that? Can I get like one more rotation out of it, or?
What about you, Stevie? How was your kind of development here?
Well, I came in with the judo background, and I was looking for, you know, something. All right, so the nickname should probably reflect that a little bit, but not, you know, just be judo. It's a little blasé for the demographic.
But apparently works as a nickname.
Yeah, it works fine as a nickname. So I was just looking around like, okay, what'd sound cool? All right. Ronin, Masterless Samurai. I can get behind that.
Okay.
I can do something with that. So, not anything nearly as exciting as, you know, I decided, you know, I'd stop throwing myself off of high things and almost killing myself and, you know, start doing it to get a 3 count in the ring.
I'm going to try and take somebody out with me.
Oh. So you guys had your first matches here just a little bit ago at Proving Ground 7, available over there on the IndyWrestling.us website. And you guys particularly pulled some kind of higher end opponents, to say the least. In the money weight Dylan Bostic, he's been around. I famously had some encounters with Ryback on TV, and then also DJ Z, who is, I mean, that is a full circle one there, because that is somebody that has trained with the former iteration of the IWC school, has literally been like everywhere, including Impact Wrestling. So, what was kind of your going into it feeling when you saw you were kind of on the whiteboard with these names?
Well, I was curious, can he live up to the hype? Can I bring myself up to meet this person that has been on TV and in rivalries with former WWE champions?
Mm-hmm.
I think I did okay, and then I got hit in the crotch. And listen, it's starting to become a running theme, I've noticed too.
Yeah, that's been happening. That's been happening a lot.
I feel like I should invest in a cup and probably stop going to the top rope.
It's not fun up there.
No. So and it came out pretty good with Dylan, of course, as well. We got a guest in the studio. It's okay. It's just a fan. Johnny, you had, of course, DJ Z, which
yes.
I heard great things.
Thank you
about how you were in the ring there.
It was pretty surreal, honestly. I remember getting asked like during training early on, like, just asking like, what are your dream matches, and you rattle off big names, and like one of my like ideal, like, okay, maybe it could happen, is DJ Z. Like, I'm like, there's no way I'll get him within like the first couple years, and I ended up debuting against him. It kind of like blew my mind that I had like this opportunity, and I remember hearing about it. I was at work. I don't have any phone service at work, so whenever I went on break, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and my phone's blowing up. I have like 20 missed messages, like missed calls, voicemails. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? I text somebody. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, dude, check social media. I'm like, which one? They're like, doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, okay. And I seen it. It popped up who I was facing. I screamed, dude. I let out like a noise, and I'm like, oh my God. My supervisor comes out and makes sure like I'm not dying. I'm like, look, he's like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, oh, but I was just
it looks like a robot on the picture, right?
But yeah, dude, I was just so blown away, and I knew that I had to like give everything I had to this. Like, I think I upped my training 100 times from that point on up until my match, and oh man, that was it was definitely an amazing experience.
I got the film. It is going to be coming out soon on the site too. But I got to sit in for a little bit of his Lucha Libre training session up in Cleveland the next day. So did you get any Lucha tips from him? I mean, he famously talks about he trains like 3 days a week with Lucha up there in Chicago, and he goes out to Mexico and everything. Did you glom anything else off from that?
Yeah, he dropped down a couple times while we were training for some like open rings to just like hang out, get a nice workout in. And every time he came down, he would always show us something. And some of the things that I do now, I've actually learned from him. I don't want to give too much away. But he's definitely one of the best wrestlers I've ever had a chance to be around. Very open-minded, very I'm not sure like how to describe it, but he's always willing to work with you. He's always willing to make sure you become better at the end of it. He's a world-class athlete and definitely an amazing person.
We got Ben in the chat room. He's saying you both killed it at Proving Ground, of course, and Walter's agreeing as well. We did have a question from our friend Bobby of J-Town that I think I mentioned earlier about who is your, just because noticing you had your Lucio shirt, who is your main over in Overwatch?
I do like healers. Lucio is definitely a top choice. Mora, and then every once in a while, if I need some DPS, I'll go Reaper. I've always been a big fan of those guys.
This is completely alien to me because I haven't played the game yet.
Clue what he's talking about. Send help.
You know what? This is what other people feel like when we're talking about wrestling.
I've noticed that. I've tried to have regular conversation with people, and it doesn't work anymore.
Yes. Yeah, when the lingo starts creeping in a little bit, right? So, tell me, what are you guys kind of looking at for inspiration, other than DJ Z and the guys you guys faced here, of course. Like, who are you kind of looking to? Is there any particular promotion that you're watching, or anybody out there that's kind of got your attention, whether it's inspiration or just kind of keeping an eye out for?
Definitely PCW up in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I need to
a premiere.
Yeah.
Premiere.
I need to
officially premiere.
Okay. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Branding.
Yeah, I definitely got to cut down a couple pounds. That the welterweight tournament really appealed to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully getting an opportunity to show my worth there.
Awesome. What about you, Stevie?
There's nowhere in particular I'm looking to go right now. I'm pretty happy in IWC. Now, if you've got bookings, let me know. I'll accept. I'm happy to work.
And you guys have been getting around. You guys had like 3 or 4 matches since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're a place in West Virginia. What was the name of it? I had it before we started this interview.
Pro Wrestling
Inception.
Inception. Yeah, I couldn't forget.
Yeah.
You couldn't remember the third.
Inception. I worked there. That was a good time. But beyond that, I've been in IWC, so maybe future high stakes champion.
You had to take that, of course, this past weekend at Unbreakable. But okay, so what is the best and worst thing about wrestling training?
I would say I'll start with the worst thing. Worst thing from my experience is the temperature. It's like a hot box, and it's like everything just becomes 1,000 times like harder in winter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So like
it's the extreme of whatever's happening.
Yeah,
out there.
and you can see the look on our trainers. They're just like loving every second of it as the lagoon starts to form in the middle of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
We're slipping and sliding.
There is a lot of like you're going to go through what I went through, like kind of thing. Like this is the rite of passage, right?
It's like you guys need to understand. Not everybody has like the top facilities. Like this is what we've done. This is what a lot of people have done. You're going to be humble. You're going to respect each and every time you get into a nice ring, in a nice environment.
Mm-hmm.
You won't take anything for granted.
Absolutely. What about you, Stevie?
Best thing I would say is probably, honestly, the community of it all. Meeting fans, meeting people like you, and unfortunately Dime, Professor, it's Archer. That's been just such an awesome experience, is meeting people. The worst thing is grape squishers. I will just note that right now.
I think that was brought up on the last show too. Grape squishers. And for anybody that maybe didn't catch that, what is a grape squisher?
They're the worst. You grab the top rope, lean back, and start bringing your legs up. High knees. It's just constant movement and just death. Just death.
How's that cardio, guys?
It's terrible. I hate it. I hate cardio work.
I don't mind it. It's not too bad for me.
You kind of do that all the time just for fun anyway.
I know, like, yeah. It's great.
I'd rather pick people up and put them down with force, beat up the planet with them.
That takes too much work.
So, of course, you guys will be mainstays here probably for a little bit in IWC. You're getting out there, so keep an eye out for these guys coming to your neighborhood, or tell your local promoter if you're outside the area to get them in. Because, that's the way it happens. You guys need to get out, get different opponents, different experiences, hit that road, of course. So the other question, have you guys figured out your social media stuff yet? Did they talk about this in training?
Yes, we had an entire class just talking about the importance of it and like the dangers of it. More importantly.
Good. I'm glad to see that's integrated in training.
Yeah.
At this point. So what is your social media?
My Twitter at Johnny_decent. And then Instagram, Johnny_Patch, I believe.
We got to roll this back because we were talking about this before the show. Explain why Johnny Decent.
I don't know. It was just like it was just something stupid that started back in high school. Somebody would call me. I'd answer the phone. Decent speaking. Hey, what time is it? Oh, I don't know. 1/2 decent. It just started as something stupid and as something dumb. And it's just like, it always catches people off guard when I do it. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, decent. And I don't know. It just like always stuck around. I always thought it was funny. A lot of people think it's stupid, which they're right. But
if you can make it your own, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. What about you, Stevie?
On Instagram, it's at Stevie_Lebell. And on Twitter, it's at Ronin_Lebell. I kept everything nice and simple. And Facebook, just search Stevie Lebell. You'll find me.
Go check them out, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And it looks like, man, you guys were in competition with Team Storm on people on the live feed here a little bit. So that's kind of impressive for the new guys here. I don't know. Maybe future, you're going to make sure there's not a 3-time Rookie of the Year with Jackson here?
Yeah, we're going to make sure about that.
Yeah.
Our class has come together and decided that no matter who wins, we just make sure it's one of us.
Yeah.
We can't deal with another year.
That does add a little bit of a, like, hey, we're going to really put over, like there's more fire underneath you, right?
Oh, yeah.
I can't hear Argos brag about it for another year.
How is he going to carry a 3rd trophy?
I don't know.
I think he's going to hire somebody to have him carry his trophy.
Don't give him ideas, Patch.
There you go. Oof. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And guys that are joining us here in the live chat room at IndyWrestling.us's Facebook page. Check out everything, including these guys' first matches and their other matches coming up here soon on, actually, probably by the time you guys catch this on the podcast form over at IndyWrestling.us. Please go hit us up. Let us know anybody we should be talking about on the show. Again, at the good times at WrestlingMayhemShow.com or 412-206-WMS0. And until next time, support Indie Wrestling.
For the taste of the pie. Sick, you know how I act now. If you got a problem, come and see if I'm a back down. Act wild, steady sipping check now.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.